welcome to the Business Think Tank podcast, episode 1. My name is Ryan Johns. I'm here with Golf Kupanich.
Welcome. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Well, I guess we should give a little bit of background on us and how we know each other for the audience. We've known each other for 10 years?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit over that, and we actually have some family connections that go back even further. Golf and I met here in the Tampa Bay area professionally. He's a business owner, and you've owned your company for
10 years.
10 years, but you've been in the business for how long?
This is starting my 24th year in the business.
Yeah. And over my career, I've had the opportunity to work in various aspects with small business owners, with financial matters and other things. And so that's something that really interests us, is how people grow businesses, how they deal with obstacles, what type of things that they have to overcome. And so today I think we're going to get into a couple things at a really high level and just kind of see where it goes.
Awesome.
Yeah, great. So, the thought process for today, I think, is just to generally consider what should a small business owner be thinking about in terms of maybe financial headwinds or just obstacles that they've got to overcome. Things like budgeting and cash flow planning, financing, those types of things. It's something that regardless of the industry or sector that you're in, you're going to encounter in some form or another, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know, I guess where my head is at today is more so in terms of access to cash. And that doesn't just mean, not necessarily financing, I guess, but more so from the standpoint of you're a good business person, you're good at business development, you can make the sales. Now the money's coming in. How do you make sure that your financial house is in order so that the money is there to reinvest and that type of thing, whether it's marketing or personnel or compliance matters, those types of things, right? Because the money doesn't just magically work for you or work for itself. You've got to tell the money what to do.
Correct.
So I guess with that in mind, I might ask you, Golf, as you're thinking about your mortgage business, you've done your own business development, you've seen growth, you've considered scalability, and you think about the revenue that comes in. Is there something that kind of is at the forefront of your mind in terms of this is the biggest money problem, or maybe not money problem, but like here's what I stress out about sometimes from a financial standpoint?
Well, being the entrepreneurs, right? I think everyone has the same common problems, is cash flow. Since everything can be cyclical, you never know when what month can be better than the other, and how to prepare for the future. One is just be able to be disciplined, set money aside for different avenues, whether you're spending on marketing, your advertising, or something like everything that has have a bucket for its place, and also reserves. So I would say is that's very important for any entrepreneur, that to break down, to analyze your costs and know where you want to go, and make sure that you evaluate month after month, and then that way you can monitor the growth.
Yeah. And you touch on something interesting, which is the cyclical nature of your business. There's a lot of businesses out there that experience seasonality or cycles, right? And that can be important to have a reserve fund set aside. We would say like emergency funds if you're just thinking about your family, right?
Correct.
But for a business, say, okay, that's a reserve fund because we're going to have periods of thriving, and we're going to have periods of maybe not struggle, but some lean years or lean months.
Right.
And so when you think about it, I'll just put you on the spot a little bit, but when you think about like a reserve fund set aside, what are the things you're thinking about to kind of calculate that number? Like how does seasonality look for you? Or, is there particular expenses? You say, well, I know I got my fixed expenses, I need X, or like how do you kind of mold that over in your head to arrive at what a good reserve fund should be at?
I mean, obviously, I think you have to know what your bottom line, right? And kind of minimize that as much as possible without, allowing the business not to grow. So like, for example, like in lean times, doesn't mean that you have to cut back marketing, because that marketing is still important, because you still got to advertise to let people know that you're open. So I evaluate myself and just kind of look at the bottom line and then kind of set that aside, at least like a 6 month reserve.
Yeah.
So that way, when things does slow down, you're not, desperately, trying to scrape to make things work. I mean, you just got to stay the course. I think that's probably been the key to my success is I stick to the course and just kind of go with it, and everything is an even keel throughout,
Right.
throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, lean times hit where you miss a few transactions and you don't have to show up to the office and drastically change what you're going to do that day because you've got the reserves. You can
Correct.
continue to with the routine that has worked in the past. That probably gives you a level of comfort at the office, but then gives you a level of comfort when you go home at night because you know you've got what you need in place to keep things running.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's, like in my business, the mortgage business, it's all relationship. And you don't want to sound like you're desperate or you're trying to sell someone something, for your own benefit. It's still, you're going to be looking out for the best interest of your client. I think if you treat people right in the business, that result will, return tenfold.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as I'm going to add my 2 cents in on calculating that reserve number 2, and I think what I've seen with business owners in the past, sometimes you ask that question and somebody gets a little bit starry-eyed, or I don't know if that's the right term, but not like a glazed look in their face, right? Because you go, well, so how much do you think you need? Well, number one, you've probably seen this. Some people don't have that. Some people don't have a reserve fund. They're going,
Correct.
I'm going day by day. I got to get the next sale. That sounds really stressful, right?
Right.
Or number 2, they're like, well, I have some. Okay, well, how did you come up with that number? Well, I just like to have 10 grand set aside. Well, how did you get there? It just seems like a good number. And then when you hear that type of comment, that's when you kind of know, you're like, well, this person doesn't have great bookkeeping.
Correct.
And I think that is an element that I've seen missing with business owners sometimes is you're so used to making the sale, you're good at that, but you're not good at bookkeeping. That's not surprising, right?
Right.
And you and I've talked about this. People have different strengths and different weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times the people who are really good relationally and closing a deal are not necessarily great with the details and the numbers.
Absolutely.
So my takeaway from this would be, if you want to know the number that you need for that reserve fund, you got to back up to good bookkeeping. And if you can't do it, you need to get somebody that's good at it because that's worth the money.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people talk about different softwares and programs they're using. I think what I'm talking about more so is just like right at the very beginning, you have to have somebody come and diagnose the books and where the money's going, if you're not already doing that, right?
Correct. I mean, for me personally, right, for my business, I use my American Express for just about everything. And they do a good job dissecting to say, okay, what am I spending on marketing? Let's say, food, restaurant, or like, meal expenses for, meeting clients and stuff like that, right? And I just take that and look and see what my spending has been for the last 6 months. And then from there, you can say, okay, well, this is about the average what I've been spending. And then I arrived, okay, that's at least the reserve I should have.
Yes.
To go forward. And then, like you said, I mean, since it is a cyclical business, when it is a good month, yes, instead of go and blow on vacations, right? Put that money aside until you get that reserves. When you have that reserve, it just keep going.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. And I think there's different aspects to different businesses because of the team size and how they're structured. And so from your standpoint, you're monitoring that on the Amex. It's very well categorized. You can take a look and see the fixed expenses and go, this is what I need for 6 months.
correct.
But if you and I were talking to somebody who had a team, 15 or 20 employees, and this is the CEO who at some point was business development, but now they're kind of up here in the clouds, like looking down. They don't feel like they've got a good grip on it. I think the next thing I would say then is, well, you've got to have great transparency in your communication then. So you got to have good bookkeeping. And if you're not the one that's monitoring it, that person that's doing the bookkeeping, you've got to have an open line of communication so you can understand it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's easier said than done.
Oh,
right?
yes.
I mean, now we're getting into like company culture, we're getting into leadership principles, and these are all topics we may hit at some point, but we can't open Pandora's box on episode 1, I think.
No. Don't want to scare everyone off.
No, but well, that's good. I think as we're looking at the Business Think Tank podcast. We're kind of starting with the meat of things by looking at the financials. Maybe we could have started with some fluffier stuff, but the financial concerns, the reserve fund, budgeting in place, good communication, these are all important elements for a business owner as they're trying to make sure they can weather the storm in seasonality or cyclical environments.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, do you have anything else to add on this topic?
I think be disciplined, is my thing. It's like, be disciplined, be true to yourself, and be realistic to achieve your goal. I think if you put your mind to it, I've done it. I'm a proven fact that, anything can be done if you really put your mind to it and just work on it day to day. That, as long as, today is better than yesterday, I think you're heading in the right direction.
Well said. I agree with that. Well, thank you very much for joining us on episode 1 of the Business Think Tank podcast. We'll be back soon with more amazing content.
Awesome.
Great.
Have a good day.